hands are still pale and shaky, and my legs throb with exhaustion. What course my life will now run, I know not. I only know it will be a life outside of the lab, away from university, away from the academic path, and crucially, very far away from my PhD supervisor, Mark. Despite my physical condition, this is like a euphoric dream. Listening to Dylan's Blowin' in the Wind, I look out of the window into the sea. I am away forever. It really is over. Part 1. Before. Chapter 1. I wake to the sound of raindrops tapping on the window of the tiny room in Pollock Halls of residence. Situated on the edge of Holyrood Park, near the foot of the dramatic little mountain, Arthur's Seat, this should be a sweet awakening. But I'm soaked in feverish sweat. My stomach is cramping crazily with every little movement. My head is pounding like a gong, and my back feels like I've ridden a camel across cobbles all night. The mattress I am lying on is hanging through the bed frame, as if something weird and dramatic has recently occurred here, such as two sumo wrestlers having torrid sex. It resembles lying in a toaster rather than a bed. The wooden desk, attached to the windowsill, looks askew on just one twisted hinge. I am not sure if it really is, or if my vision is distorted by the weird bed. From the outside, Pollock Halls is a beautiful and renowned student residency, which is rented out during semester breaks as a B&B. From the inside, it's like a slapdash sitcom set, at least the room I'm staying in. For a few minutes I lie in silence, wondering how I will ever get through this day. In 3 hours, I am expected at King's Buildings, the university campus where the School of Chemistry is located, to interview for a PhD position. Since coming back to Europe 1 week ago, after almost a year working for Unilever in China, I had been at my parents' place in the northeast of the Netherlands. In the last 7 years, I hadn't spent more than the occasional night in the village where I grew up, but for now, I had nowhere else to live. My childhood bed had been binned long ago, and my room converted into a guest room. I didn't want to stay in the village for a week, but I had been ill. At first, I thought I was suffering a prolonged hangover from my goodbye to Shanghai night out. When the hangover hung around all evening, and even seemed to intensify with ibuprofen and coffee, I wondered if I had perhaps caught a virus. It was not until I was pretty much hallucinating and losing litres of sweat that I started to fear a strange Asian parasite was flourishing within me. I had postponed my flight to Edinburgh for a couple of days, cutting out the tourist part of my trip. The sickness had subsided to a flu-like condition, but it had drained me. I feel exhausted and defeated, and I want to collapse. For days. But cancelling such an important appointment was never an option. I am not sure if postponing would have diminished my chances of getting a PhD, but I didn't want to risk it. Now there was nothing for it but to haul my woozy body out of the God-forsaken bed and pretend to be sentient for the duration of an interview. I convince myself that painkillers and fever blockers will get me through. I applied for this PhD position, conducting research on cystic fibrosis, just a few weeks ago, after reading about it on a job portal for scientists. In fact, I don't really have any particular interest in cystic fibrosis, but during the previous years I had learned that it doesn't really matter to me what I work on. It could just as easily have been Alzheimer's or cancer, or some strange single-cell organism no one really gives a damn about. Of course, there are scientists obsessed with finding a treatment for one particular disease, but I am not. I am not sick myself, and nobody close to me suffers from a strange illness to get emotionally attached to, or even a mainstream disease to get particularly zealous about. In the area that I graduated, you zoom in tight on the tiniest details, like single proteins or molecules. The relevant illness is very distant and abstract. However, the larger picture is important in order to avoid social isolation at parties. Being a cancer researcher draws interest and respect. Studying complex fluids in an inexplicable matrix that no one has ever heard of is everything but glamorous, and makes you an intellectual freak. For me, however, the main appeal is contributing to fundamental